My name is David. I'm 36 years old. And until recently, I considered myself the luckiest son of a bitch on the planet. I had the holy trinity of male success, a thriving architectural business, a best friend, Michael, with whom I'd shared a desk since first grade and built this very business, and, of course, Alice. Alice. When she walked into a room, the air seemed to change density. We had been married for 7 years. 7 years that I thought were the best of my life. She wasn't just beautiful, she was my anchor. While Michael and I disappeared into the office for days on end, fighting for tenders and arguing with contractors, Alice created an atmosphere at home that made life worth living. Michael was like a brother to me, closer than a brother. We had gone through the bankruptcy of our first startup together, the death of my parents, drunken nights at bars, and sleepless nights before deadlines. I trusted him to sign documents without looking. I trusted him with the keys to my house. I trusted him with my life. It all started 3 months ago. We were preparing the deal of the century. A major development network wanted to acquire our firm. We were talking about a sum with 7 zeros. Michael and I were set to receive huge payouts and remain on the board of directors. The tension was colossal. I was working 16-hour days. Alice was surprisingly calm. "Don't worry, honey, it'll be over soon and we'll rest," she would say, massaging my shoulders. Michael acted as usual too, except he started staying late at the construction sites more often. The first alarm bell rang by accident. It was a cliché, like something out of a cheap novel. My phone battery died and I urgently needed to check my email before a meeting. I grabbed Alice's iPad, which was lying on the sofa. She was in the shower. I opened the browser, and it automatically loaded the last open page. It was a luxury real estate website for the Cayman Islands. I smiled. I thought, wow, what a surprise she's preparing for me. She wants to celebrate the sale of the company at a villa. I closed the tab so I wouldn't spoil her surprise. But 2 days later, I noticed something else. Michael came to the office in a new shirt, expensive Italian silk, and he smelled of perfume. Not his usual cologne, but something complex, niche. That evening, hugging Alice, I smelled that same scent in her hair. "New perfume?" I asked. "Yes. I got a sample at the store. Don't you like it?" She tensed up, just a tiny bit. "No, it smells good," I lied. Inside me, a cold worm of doubt began to move. I tried to crush it. "You're paranoid, David. These are your closest people. Michael is married. He has 2 kids. Alice loves you. You're just overworked." But the worm wouldn't die. I am an architect. My job is to notice details, discrepancies in blueprints, cracks in the foundation. And I started noticing cracks in my life. The glances. When the 4 of us had dinner, me, Alice, Michael, and his wife Sarah, I intercepted a look Michael gave Alice. It wasn't the look of a friend. It was the look of an owner. And Alice. She blushed and looked away. I decided to verify. I'm not proud of it, but I bought a voice-activated recorder. Small, the size of a USB drive. And I taped it under the driver's seat of Alice's car. In the evening, I retrieved it. My hands were shaking as I plugged it into my computer. The first 2 hours were road noise, the radio, phone calls with girlfriends. Boring. And then a recording from 2:30 p.m. The sound of a door closing. Michael's voice. "Did you tell him about the weekend?" Alice's voice. I said I was going to my mom's. He believed it. He doesn't see anything right now except this deal. The sound of a kiss. A wet, long, disgusting sound. Michael, 2 more weeks, baby. We sign the papers, the money hits the transit account, and we launch the scheme. David will be left with the company's debts, and we'll be long gone. Alice, laughing, a laugh I had never heard, cold and calculating. I almost feel sorry for him. He's so naive. He thinks we're flying to Italy to celebrate. Listen, are you sure the lawyers won't find the hole in that contract you slipped him? Michael, I told you, he only reads the first page. He signed Appendix 4 without looking. That's the whole point. The assets transfer to our LLC, and the liabilities stay with him. He's bankrupt, Alice. A total zero. The world didn't collapse. There's no explosion. The lights just went out. I sat in my dark office, listening to the 2 people I loved most in the world, discussing not just an affair. They were discussing my destruction. They had been sleeping together for 6 months, and they planned to frame me during the company sale, siphon the money offshore, and run, leaving me with millions in debt to investors and the tax authorities. I wanted to drive to Michael's and smash his face in. I wanted to wake Alice and throw her out onto the street. But I am an architect. I don't break walls with a sledgehammer in a fit of rage. I dismantled the building brick by brick. I wiped my tears, poured a whiskey, and started planning. I had 2 weeks before the deal closed. For 2 weeks, I had to play the role of the loving husband and the trusting partner. It was the best acting performance in history, worthy of an Oscar. I hired a private investigator and a forensic accountant. The detective dug up dirt fast. Photos, videos, hotel receipts. It turned out their business meetings took place in a motel on the outskirts of town. The accountant found that infamous Appendix 4. Michael really had swapped pages in the contract. If the deal had gone through as planned, I would have owed the bank $15 million, while Michael and Alice would have walked away with $20 million in pure cash via a shell company. But Michael underestimated one person, our chief lawyer, old Mr. Greenberg. Michael thought Greenberg was already senile. I went to see Greenberg at night. We sat until morning. When the old man realized what the son of his late partner was doing, he was furious. "We will destroy him, David," he said, wiping his glasses. "We have a clause in the bylaws, the moral integrity clause. Plus, since he forged your signature on the interim acts, that's a felony." We developed Plan Trap. I didn't cancel the deal. I let Michael think he had won. 3 days before the deal, I suggested to Michael, "Listen, brother, we've worked so hard. Let's throw a party to celebrate the signing. Right in the day the deal closes. We'll invite the investors, our wives, key employees." Michael beamed. "Great idea. A triumph." Alice was thrilled too. She was already mentally spending millions. She bought a new dress, red, the color of victory, or blood. Meanwhile, I moved my personal assets, those not related to the business, into a trust fund that Alice couldn't touch in a divorce. I gathered all the evidence, audio recordings, videos, financial documents with forged signatures. The hardest part was sleeping in the same bed as Alice, feeling her warmth and knowing she was a viper. Every "I love you" from her sounded like a point-blank gunshot. But I endured. For the finale, D-Day arrived. The morning began with signing documents. We sat in the conference room, investors, lawyers. Michael was nervous but tried to hide it behind a wide smile. When the folder of documents was passed to me, I froze for a second. Michael stopped breathing. I looked at him, smiled the warmest smile, and signed. Michael exhaled. he thought he had won. He didn't know that the night before, Greenberg, the notary, and I had signed a different set of documents that annulled Michael's authority as CFO retroactively due to uncovered violations. His signature on today's deal was legally void, but my signature triggered the merger process, with the money going into a controlled account only I had access to. Evening, a restaurant on the roof of a skyscraper. Champagne, live music. Alice in her red dress, magnificent and lethal. Michael in a tuxedo, his hand lingering on my wife's waist a little longer than appropriate when they thought no one was looking. Michael's wife, Sarah, arrived, a kind, sweet woman who suspected nothing. It was time for toasts. I tapped my fork against my glass. The music died down. Everyone turned to me. Spotlights illuminated the stage. Friends, colleagues, beloved wife, I began. My voice was steady. Today is a great day. We have been working toward this for 10 years. But the success of a company is built on a foundation, on trust, on truth. Michael raised his glass, saluting me. I have prepared a short video presentation about our journey, I said, and pressed a button on the remote. Photos appeared in the huge screen behind me. Michael and I in college, our first office, the wedding of me and Alice. The audience cooed with emotion. But unfortunately, in any construction, there can be rot, I continued, changing my tone. Sometimes termites infest the very heart of the house. The screen flickered, and instead of photos, a video started playing. The one from the motel. Not pornography, no. I didn't stoop to that. It was a video from the camera the detective had installed in their favorite room. They were sitting on the bed, half naked, drinking wine. The sound filled the entire hall. Michael, that idiot really suspects nothing. Tomorrow he signs his own death warrant. Alice, I can't wait. His touch makes me sick. I want to be with you, with the money, on the island. Will Sarah suspect anything? Michael, Sarah, I'll leave her the house and the mortgage. Let her scramble. The main thing is us. Turn it off! Michael screamed, rushing toward the remote. But his path was blocked by two burly security guards. That's not all, I said calmly into the microphone. Michael, Alice, you thought you stole the company from me, but you forgot that I always check the blueprints. I nodded toward the entrance. 3 police officers and representatives from the prosecutor's office entered the hall. Michael Stevens, the officer asked, you are under arrest on suspicion of corporate fraud, forgery of documents, and embezzlement of funds on a particularly large scale. This is a mistake. David, have you lost your mind? Michael squealed as handcuffs were slapped on him. Alice, I turned to my wife. She was shaking. Tears streamed down her perfect makeup. You wanted to go to the islands? I'm afraid your next trip will only be to the courtroom. You are an accomplice. Your signature is on the fake work acceptance acts. The investors watched in shock, but Mr. Greenberg was already explaining to them that the rotten element had been removed and the deal was clean. Sarah walked up to Michael and slapped him so hard his lip started bleeding. Then, she walked up to me, hugged me, and cried. A year has passed. The divorce was fast. Thanks to the prenup, yes, I had one, and the infidelity clause stripped Alice of everything. And the criminal case, Alice left with nothing. She now lives with her mother, works as a receptionist at a beauty salon, and pays legal fees. Her shine is gone. Michael got 5 years in prison. There was too much evidence. His wife took the kids and moved to another state, getting a restraining order against him. In prison, rumor has it, He's having a hard time. Financial fraudsters aren't held in high regard there. And me? I sold the company. I couldn't walk into that office anymore. The shadows of the past were too long. I took the money, my honest millions, and did what I had wanted for a long time. I bought an old vineyard in Italy. Yes, that very dream. But now it is mine alone. I am restoring an ancient villa. I work with my hands, stone by stone. Sometimes, sitting on the terrace in the evening with a glass of wine, I remember that night. Does it hurt? Yes. Betrayal leaves scars that ache in the rain. But I know one thing. They wanted to destroy my life, to build their paradise on my ashes. But they forgot the law of architecture. A house built on a rotten foundation will always collapse. I survived under the rubble, and they remained buried beneath it. It was a high price for a lesson, but now I know exactly what truth is worth and what the people sleeping next to you are worth. The end.